tell me a little bit about what brought you to Baylor.
I'll go first.
Okay.
I never wanted to go anywhere else. I had met a lot of people. I grew up in Galveston, and so a lot of people came through Galveston, and everybody that I met that was from Baylor were just the kind of people I wanted to be with. And so I never wanted to go anywhere else. I was fortunate enough to be able to come here.
I didn't know anything about Baylor. I was the president of the student body in my high school in Macon, Georgia, Lanier Senior High for boys, which had the second largest ROTC unit outside of Woodrow Wilson in Dallas during those times. And the interesting situation, a Baylor graduate spoke to our student body called Howard Butt Jr. Howard Butt didn't know anything about it. Howard Butt was going in various cities as a layperson speaking to groups on the Christian faith. Ours was a public school, and they invited him because of his business prowess to come and speak to the student body. As president of the student body, I introduced him. And in his comments afterwards, he said, "Tom, why don't you consider Baylor?" That's interesting. About 5 years ago, I was talking with Howard, and I told him that story. He said, "Tom, I never told anybody to go to Baylor because what I did, I didn't think it would be appropriate," meaning that he was out dealing with issues and not in the educational world. So that got me thinking about Baylor, but I had already planned to go to Vanderbilt University, had a small scholarship to go to Vanderbilt. I got to thinking about it, and since they had an ROTC, an Air Force ROTC, I decided to try it and got accepted, but late in the summer, and didn't have a room, and my prayer was that if I have to go to Baylor, that not only will I be able to get a room, but things be worked out on some financial situations, job-wise, for me to enter. And things did.
Now, Jan, your roots run deep at Baylor. Your grandfather, I think, had a particular accomplishment, if you will.
My grandfather in 1909 got his medical degree from Baylor, and that was during an early time when you didn't have to have your bachelor's. You could go straight through and get it. He has Pat Neff's signature on his diploma that I have hanging on the wall. My dad wanted to come to Baylor, but he grew up in the Depression and could not afford it, so he was thrilled when I decided to come. Had 3 kids that came here, a grandson who's here now, nieces and nephews. So it's been a good place for our family for sure.
Do you make the case to all of your children and grandchildren to come to Baylor, or was it just something that happened?
It happened. No, we did not make the case at all. In fact, we lived in New Orleans, and east of the Mississippi River, they didn't think there were any educational institutions worth too much that were west of the Mississippi River. So they didn't hear a lot about Baylor. Because we lived so far, we came occasionally to homecoming, but not real often. And of course, we had our diplomas on the walls, and we're very proud of our heritage at Baylor. Always wanted the children to go where they wanted to go. That was very, very important to us. And we did, on a couple of occasions, have parties in the summer for the few students from that area that were coming to Baylor, and even had the bear in our front yard one summer, which was a lot of fun. They brought him over from Waco for our Baylor party. But we thought all 3 children were going to other places, and it was not until the very last minute almost that each of them individually, when they had already made decisions really to go to other places, decided to come to Baylor. And both of our girls met their spouses here. So we were thankful, but whatever they chose would have been right. We just felt like, and they felt Baylor was the right place for them.
During that time, I guess we visited 15 universities, most east of the Mississippi River.
Yes, many universities.
Now, Tom, you came to work at Baylor. Tell me a little bit about that.
I worked for many years in organizational management, And I was president CEOs of chambers in a small town in Texas, but also in Galveston and New Orleans, for that region of New Orleans and the region. And during that time, I had established a private management company after I had left the chamber. And during that time, President Reynolds wanted to establish a relationship with the corporate world. And he asked me, would I consider coming to Baylor to develop a corporate development department for Baylor. And I did work in that area for many years, and then the interest of Baylor moved to general development work and not working with the relationships at that time with the corporate world.
And Jan, you also worked for Baylor for a while.
I did. When we moved back here, I got my master's degree, and while I was getting my master's, and then afterwards, I worked at the Literacy Mission Center on campus, because at that time I realized that it was adult literacy that was really of interest to me. So, yeah, that was a good spot.
When you were both here as students, tell me a little bit about the religious environment, the religious experience for you.
I was active at Columbus Avenue, and on Sunday we did not have cars, so it was a matter of buses coming to pick us up or borrowing a car from a friend. I was also on the freshman BSU council as a freshman, not real involved in the BSU after that, more through church, and they provided Sunday evening meals for us, so that was another involvement. Sunday school, the usual things.
I had a little bit different experience than students have today in that three areas. One, I had to work my way through school, so I had generally three jobs at one time. And that was not uncommon for students at Baylor at that time, when you consider the makeup financial of the students coming to the university. So I did not get a chance to do a lot of activities at Baylor, even though I had a chance to be elected president of the sophomore class. My job was, not only did I enjoy meeting students and faculty, but I met a lot of people that meant a lot to me in Waco, because I worked out in the community. But so my experience from faith basis was in all those areas. I met people at Baylor, especially P.D. Brown, that taught the course that I had hoped that universities of faith-based, with a Protestant university, evangelical university, Catholic, Episcopal, so forth, would have a special course dealing with the laity. P.D. did. I took that course, and the influences that P.D. Brown had on laity involvement as a church, not as a minister, but as a layman, had great influences. So that had a great impact on me. And then another situation was I attended and was a member of Seventh and James Church, and the pastor then, Charles Welburn, never will forget a life-changing decision, because when I came to Baylor, coming from the background that I came from, there were certain prejudices that I had, racial, etc. And I never will be so uneasy in my life when Charles Welburn spoke. And I, at that time, made a decision to, within me, it was hard, to drop those prejudices and realize everybody is created as God's creation. So that was a significant time for me, especially as I worked with others in the community.
How has Baylor changed over the years?
Well, I think the obvious thing is the size of the campus. It's much larger. Several things. Most of us didn't have cars then. Now everybody has to have a car. I was in a social club. Now there are sororities and fraternities. We did not have national organizations at that time. I think another big change that I see are the dorms. Everybody lived on campus, so there was a lot of class camaraderie. There was a lot of competition among classes, much more than, there were the social clubs, yes, some, but the big deal was the competition between the different classes. Because we lived in dorms, lived together, lived in a closer environment. Seeing the apartments, the fact that students can live off campus, so many of them do. And I think a recent thing are the male-female dorms too. That's very, very different. So I think those are the main things that I've seen.
I agree with her. Mark got down after 53 years. I still agree with her. But two different things. One is the spirit of class versus individual activities that she mentioned. I think has has worked toward not creating that closeness of the student body as it probably did back when I was going through. There was a close unity of the student body as a whole. Today there seems more reasons and more activities that take you away from we are a class, we are a Baylor together. That may be wrong, but that's an impression I have.
What does Baylor mean to you?
Baylor means, number one, a university where I began to enjoy learning. I had a fair education in school, but I began to explore different views, and I'm thankful for that, and was challenged in my beliefs, and I am thankful for that, because it made me, I think, stronger in my faith. Second, I am very thankful for its commitment to the Christian faith, but I'm also thankful that it emphasized the importance of the individual back in those days, and I think, and hopefully it still does today, and that I value strong. And that means a great deal to me, and obviously it means a great deal to me that so many of our family have been part of the Baylor family.
For me, the first thing I think about are friendships that continue to this day. These are friends that, as I matured and grew into who I am, I had a lot more in common with than high school friends or whatever. And so these are lifelong friends. The education was important, of course, but I think it gave me a chance to, came from an environment where everybody knew us, I knew everybody, certain behaviors were expected, and that's what I did. And it became a time where I had to figure out whether these things were me or whether they were my parents and my environment. And Baylor allowed that in positive ways. A lot of good choices, obviously other choices as well, but there were plenty of good choices that could be made. There were great opportunities, so just good. It was just a good time in my life.
Your daughter was just elected to be an alumni elected regent. You've known Linda Livingstone for a long time. How are you feeling about the future of Baylor?
I know London had experience to work with her before she left Baylor. I feel really good because I think one of her many characteristics that's very positive, she is a deep listener. She will wear you out listening. And that's good. She really listens. And I think the other thing about it, she has because of experiences, she will make the hard decisions. And if it's rough on her, she'll make them. she will not, I think probably, and I don't know if it's probably in her experience in sports, taught you got to be competitive, but you got to make decisions. And she will do that. I have a great deal of respect for her and look very favorably on her leadership at Baylor. I think she has tremendously undiscovered leadership abilities that probably have not been recognized at the universities. I don't know. I just see that.
I agree with everything. My word that I think of is hopeful. I'm extremely hopeful with Linda's leadership. As far as our daughter, I'm excited for her to have this opportunity, and I'm excited that she can have the opportunity to work with Linda and can learn from Linda as they work together. So I'm very, very encouraged, very, very.